50 things only. Those who grew up in the 1970s remember. Ready to rewind time? The 1970s were more than just bell-bottoms and disco balls. They were a bold, unforgettable era packed with quirky trends, iconic toys, and groovy moments that shaped a generation. Whether you lived it or just wish you had, here are 50 things only true 70s kids will remember. Let the nostalgia begin. Feathered hair. In the 1970s, nothing said cool like perfectly feathered hair. It was the hairstyle everyone wanted, sleek, bouncy, and full of volume. Inspired by stars like Farrah Fawcett, that signature flip-out wave became the gold standard of glam. But don't let the breezy look fool you, it took serious effort. Blow dryers, round brushes, hot rollers, and enough hairspray to fog up a mirror were all part of the daily routine. And it wasn't just a girl thing. Guys were getting in on the trend too, sporting longer, layered cuts with soft feathering. Feathered hair defined the carefree, stylish spirit of the 70s, one swoop at a time. Bell-bottom jeans. If you grew up in the 1970s, there's no way you missed the bell-bottom craze. These weren't just pants, they were a whole attitude stitched into denim. Tight at the thighs and flaring wide at the ankles, bell-bottom jeans screamed confidence and individuality. You'd see them everywhere, from school hallways to disco dance floors, often matched with loud tie-dye shirts, chunky platform shoes, or a suede fringe vest. They symbolized freedom, rebellion, and that unmistakable 70s vibe. Atari Pong. Long before PlayStations and Xboxes ruled the living room, there was Pong, the game that started it all. Released in the early 1970s by Atari, Pong wasn't flashy or complex. In fact, it was just two white lines and a bouncing square dot, simulating a game of table tennis. But at the time, it felt like magic. People were mesmerized by the idea of interacting with their TV screen. It was the first time many folks had ever played something on a screen rather than just watched it. The Easy Bake Oven. Back in the 1970s, nothing felt more magical than whipping up your own sweet treats with an Easy Bake Oven. For kids, it was like having a mini kitchen of your own, no grown-ups needed. Powered by nothing more than a regular light bulb, this little plastic oven let you mix, pour, and bake tiny cakes and cookies right in your bedroom or playroom. Sure, the taste wasn't exactly bakery quality, sometimes it was a bit odd, but that wasn't the point. The real joy was in the doing. Mixing the batter, sliding the tray in, peeking through the window, and proudly declaring, "I baked this." That was everything. Scooby Snacks. If you were a kid in the 1970s, chances are you begged your parents for Scooby Snacks at least once. Inspired by the hit cartoon Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, these graham cracker-style treats made you feel like part of the mystery-solving gang. Kids loved the idea of eating the same snacks as Scooby and Shaggy, who couldn't resist them no matter what monster was chasing them. They became a fun, silly craze, so much so that a few curious kids even tried actual dog biscuits, just to see if they were really that good. It was all part of the Scooby-Doo magic we couldn't get enough of. Tube tops. Tube tops were pure 1970s energy, bold, breezy, and full of personality. These strapless wonders were a summer staple, hugging the body with stretchy fabric and showing off those shoulders with total confidence. They came in bright colors, wild patterns, and glittery textures, often paired with high-waisted jeans, cut-off shorts, or flared bell-bottoms. More than just a fashion choice, tube tops were a symbol of freedom and self-expression. They captured the spirit of a generation that wasn't afraid to stand out, take risks, and embrace a more daring, fun-loving style. If you rocked a tube top, you felt the 70s. Clackers. If you were a kid in the 70s, Clackers were the ultimate test of skill and bravery. These toys looked simple, two hard acrylic balls tied to opposite ends of a string. Your mission? Swing them up and down so they'd smack together with that sharp clack-clack sound. But getting the rhythm right took serious practice. And if you messed up, well, let's just say those heavy balls could leave a nasty bruise. Despite the risk, kids couldn't get enough of them. They were loud, flashy, and oddly satisfying. For many, finally mastering Clackers wasn't just fun, it was a badge of honor. The Electric Company. Back in the 1970s, before the explosion of cable and endless kids programming, the Electric Company lit up living rooms with something truly special. Aimed at kids who had graduated from Sesame Street, this PBS gem used music, comedy, and quirky characters to make reading fun. It wasn't dry or boring, it was electric. The show featured hilarious skits, wild animations, and even a young Morgan Freeman, helping bring words and grammar to life. With its groovy 70s vibe and upbeat energy, the Electric Company made learning feel exciting. Schoolhouse Rock. In the 1970s, Saturday mornings weren't just about cartoons, they were also about Schoolhouse Rock. This clever series of animated shorts turned tricky school subjects into fun, unforgettable songs. Whether it was grammar, math, history, or civics, Schoolhouse Rock made it catchy. Who could forget Conjunction Junction or I'm Just a Bill? Kids would hum the tunes without even realizing they were learning. That was the genius of it. It slipped knowledge into your brain while you were having fun. With its bright visuals, toe-tapping music, and simple explanations, Schoolhouse Rock became a beloved part of growing up in the 70s, and its lessons still stick with us today. CB radios. Long before texting or social media, if you wanted to talk on the move, you grabbed a CB radio. In the 1970s, CB, short for Citizens Band, radios weren't just for truckers, they were a full-blown cultural craze. Thanks to movies like Smokey and the Bandit, everyone wanted to get in on the action. You'd pick a fun handle, throw out phrases like 10-4, good buddy, and chat with total strangers, or maybe a neighbor down the street. Kids loved playing trucker, and families tuned in just to see who they could reach. It was more than a gadget, it was a way to feel connected, even on the open road. Drop a comment with your most unforgettable 70s memory. We might feature it in a future video. Fisher-Price Chatter Telephone. In the 1970s, no toy captured a toddler's imagination quite like the Fisher-Price Chatter Telephone. With its wide, smiling face, colorful rotary dial, and wobbly eyes that moved when you pulled it along, it was more than just a toy. It was a childhood companion. Kids would pick up the receiver, spin the dial, and carry on pretend conversations, mimicking their parents like little pros. It didn't need batteries or fancy tech, just imagination. That cheerful ring-ring sound and clacking wheels brought endless joy. Lite-Brite. Lite-Brite was pure magic in a box. In the 1970s, kids were completely captivated by this glowing toy. You'd start with a black paper template, place it over the screen, and push in tiny, colorful pegs to bring your picture to life. Once those little bulbs lit up behind the pegs, it felt like you'd just created your own neon artwork. You could follow the included patterns or freestyle your own glowing masterpiece. It was all about creativity and patience. Sure, stepping on one of those pegs barefoot was brutal, but it was worth it. Lite-Brite made you feel like an artist, one shining dot at a time. Metal lunchboxes. In the 1970s, metal lunchboxes weren't just for carrying sandwiches, they were personal billboards for your childhood identity. Whether yours featured Star Wars, The $6 Million Man, Charlie's Angels, or your favorite rock band, that lunchbox told the world exactly who you were. It wasn't just about food, it was about style. Inside, you had a matching thermos, usually with a plastic cap that doubled as a cup, keeping your milk or soup just right. Walking into the school cafeteria with your favorite design felt like a power move. Today, those colorful, clunky boxes are collectibles, treasured reminders of when lunchtime was full of personality. Waterbeds. In the 1970s, if you had a waterbed, you weren't just sleeping, you were making a statement. These beds, filled with gallons of water instead of springs, offered a smooth, floating sensation that felt downright futuristic. Climbing into one felt like drifting on a calm wave, and for many, it was the ultimate in groovy comfort. Sure, they came with challenges. They were incredibly heavy, tough to move, and if they leaked, you were in for a soggy mess. But style was everything, and waterbeds were often surrounded by shag rugs, lava lamps, and wood paneling. It wasn't just furniture, it was the vibe of the 70s right in your bedroom. Trapper Keepers. When the Trapper Keeper hit classrooms in the late 1970s, it was a total game changer. With bold, colorful covers, that satisfying Velcro flap, and a place for every notebook and paper, it made school feel a little more exciting and a lot more organized. You didn't just carry a binder, you carried the binder. It had built-in folders called trappers that snapped neatly inside, turning chaos into order. And let's be honest, it wasn't just about keeping your homework straight. The Trapper Keeper quickly became a must-have status symbol. If you had one, you were ready for anything. School just felt cooler with it in your hands. Overhead projector. Back in the 1970s, before smartboards and digital slides, the overhead projector was the king of the classroom. Teachers used clear plastic sheets called transparencies, writing out math problems, diagrams, or notes with special markers. The machine would beam those images up onto a big screen or the chalkboard, making everything larger than life. But the real thrill came when you got picked to use it. Walking up to the projector, marker in hand, and seeing your writing light up for the whole class. That was your big moment. It turned an ordinary lesson into something visual, engaging, and just a little bit magical. Disco ball. Nothing captured the spirit of a 1970s party quite like the iconic disco ball. Hanging from the ceiling, slowly spinning, it cast dazzling reflections all around the room, instantly transforming any space into a dance floor. As the lights hit those tiny mirrored tiles, magic happened. Walls shimmered, floors sparkled, and suddenly the groove took over. Whether you were striking a pose to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack or just soaking in the scene, the disco ball was the heartbeat of the night. Ditto machine copies. If you went to school in the 1970s, you definitely remember the smell of freshly printed Ditto sheets. Before photocopiers became standard, teachers used Ditto machines to make classroom copies, printing in bold purple ink with a scent that was, well, unforgettable. The moment a warm stack landed on your desk, that chemical smell would hit, and like it or not, most kids took a big whiff. It meant something new was coming. A pop quiz, a worksheet, maybe even a fun puzzle. That smell, the smudgy ink, and the soft texture of the paper became a strange but beloved part of everyday school life. Dodgeball. In the 1970s, gym class meant one thing: dodgeball. The second those rubber balls came out, the whole room buzzed with energy. You'd line up, hearts pounding, ready to duck, dive, and throw with everything you had. Those red rubber balls flew fast, and if you caught one in the face, well, it hurt, but it was almost a badge of honor. There were no soft foam balls, no protective gear, just pure old-school action. It was all about quick reflexes, clever moves, and the sweet victory of a well-aimed hit. Saturday morning cartoons. In the 1970s, Saturday mornings weren't just another day. They were the highlight of the week for kids everywhere. You'd roll out of bed, still in your pajamas, grab a big bowl of sugary cereal, and plant yourself in front of the TV for a few golden hours of non-stop cartoons. It was a lineup packed with favorites like Scooby-Doo, The Jetsons, and Super Friends, a perfect mix of laughs, adventure, and imagination. No school, no chores, just pure animated joy. Who remembers the smell of fresh Ditto copies or the thrill of Saturday morning cartoons? Drop a yes if that was your jam. Stretch Armstrong. In the 1970s, Stretch Armstrong wasn't just a toy, he was a legend. Built like a muscle-bound superhero, this rubbery action figure could be pulled, yanked, and stretched up to 4 feet across, then snap right back to his original shape. For kids who dreamed of being wrestlers or superheroes, he was the ultimate playmate. You'd team up with friends and see just how far you could stretch him. Arms across the room, legs tied in knots. But push too hard, and that mysterious, gooey filling might start to leak. Still, Stretch Armstrong's wild flexibility and weird durability made him a standout toy of the 70s, and a symbol of imagination gone wild. Milk in glass bottles. In the 1970s, milk in glass bottles wasn't just a drink, it was a part of daily rhythm. Whether it arrived on your doorstep from the neighborhood milkman or was handed out during school lunch, those thick glass bottles felt sturdy and special. They came sealed with a simple paper or foil cap, and that familiar clink sound as they touched was oddly comforting. Kids at school would sip from small glass bottles while chatting with friends, and at home the sight of the milkman's truck pulling up felt routine and reassuring. Reusable and reliable glass milk bottles carried a charm that still lingers in memory. Earth shoes. In the 1970s, Earth shoes were the funky footwear everyone was talking about. With their unusual negative heel, where the heel sat lower than the toe, they were supposed to improve posture and bring all sorts of health benefits. They looked a little odd, sure, but that was part of the charm. Earth shoes became a hit with the health-conscious crowd and free spirits alike, blending function with a bold fashion statement. Walking in them felt different. Some swore by the comfort, others blamed them for a few backaches. But whether you loved them or not, Earth shoes marched their way into the quirky heart of 70s style. Happy Days. In the 1970s, Happy Days wasn't just a TV show, it was a full-blown phenomenon. Set in the 1950s, it brought viewers into the world of Richie Cunningham, his wholesome family, and of course the ultra-cool Fonzie, whose leather jacket and eye became pop culture gold. Though it looked back on a simpler time, Happy Days became a defining part of 70s television, tapping into a wave of nostalgia and comfort. Kids mimicked Fonzie, teens quoted the show, and families gathered around the TV each week. It even sparked hit spin-offs like Laverne and Shirley, proving its staying power in the hearts of a generation. Big wheels. In the 1970s, nothing said childhood freedom quite like a big wheel. These plastic, low-riding tricycles with giant front wheels gave kids the ultimate thrill ride right in their own driveway. You'd hop on, grip the handlebars tight, and pedal like mad down the sidewalk, feeling just like a race car driver. And let's not forget the handbrake, perfect for pulling off those epic, screeching spins. With its bright colors and bold, big wheel logo, it wasn't just a toy, it was your ticket to summer fun, scraped knees, and non-stop outdoor adventure. Beanbag chairs. In the 1970s, beanbag chairs were the go-to seat for anyone wanting to kick back and relax in style. Shaped like giant fabric blobs filled with tiny beads, they molded perfectly to your body, making them the ultimate lounging spot for watching TV, listening to records, or just chilling with friends. They came in wild psychedelic colors that matched the groovy decor of the decade. Think lava lamps, shag carpets, and wood-paneled walls. Sure, they sometimes leaked beads all over the floor, but no one really minded. Beanbag chairs captured the carefree, comfy vibe of the 70s like no other piece of furniture. 8-track tapes. In the 1970s, 8-track tapes were the soundtrack of everyday life. Whether you were cruising in your car or relaxing at home, that chunky plastic cartridge was your gateway to the biggest hits of the decade. Sure, the music would awkwardly pause mid-song as the tape switched tracks, and the design wasn't exactly sleek, but none of that mattered. From Fleetwood Mac to Elton John, the 8-track brought your favorite albums to life in a way that felt new and exciting. Despite the quirks, it was the ultimate music format of its time. And today, it's a beloved symbol of 70s sound and style. Polaroid cameras. In the 1970s, Polaroid cameras changed the way we captured memories. Before smartphones and digital cameras, taking a photo meant waiting days for film to be developed. But with a Polaroid, you snapped the shot, and like magic, the picture developed right in your hand within minutes. It was instant gratification at its finest. Bulky and boxy, these cameras were a staple at birthday parties, vacations, and lazy Sunday afternoons. Everyone loved the thrill of watching the image slowly fade into view. With their glossy finish and one-of-a-kind charm, Polaroid prints became keepsakes of the moment. Real, tangible memories you could hold. Scooby-Doo, where are you? For kids growing up in the 1970s, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Was more than just a cartoon. It was a Saturday morning tradition. The lovable gang, Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and their always hungry, always scared dog, Scooby, cruised around in the mystery machine solving eerie cases that always ended with a big reveal. Ghosts, monsters, and ghouls? Just crooks in clever costumes. But what really made the show shine was the humor, the spooky fun, and the unforgettable lines like "Roo-row, Raggy," and I would have gotten away with it too. With its catchy theme song and timeless charm, Scooby-Doo became a cornerstone of 70s pop culture. Vinyl records. In the 1970s, vinyl records weren't just a way to play music, they were an experience. Walking into a record store, flipping through rows of albums and picking out the latest from Fleetwood Mac or Led Zeppelin was a thrill in itself. You'd take it home, slide the record out of its sleeve, and gently lower the needle onto the spinning disc. That first crackle? Pure magic. The warm, rich sound filled the room, and the oversized album covers were like artwork, giving you a visual connection to the music. Which of these 70s memories hit you the hardest? Tell us what took you straight back in the comments. Spirograph. In the 1970s, the Spirograph turned every kid into a miniature artist. With a handful of plastic gears, colorful pens, and a little patience, you could create stunning, swirling designs that looked like they belonged in a gallery. It wasn't just about doodling, it was a hypnotic, almost meditative process. You'd lock the gear into place, guide your pen through its loops, and watch as intricate patterns slowly came to life. Each creation felt like a masterpiece, unique and proudly displayed on bedroom walls or the fridge. Charlie's Angels. In the 1970s, Charlie's Angels redefined what it meant to be both tough and glamorous. This hit show followed three fearless women, Farrah Fawcett, Jacqueline Smith, and Kate Jackson, who solved crimes with sharp instincts, stylish flair, and plenty of confidence. They weren't just detectives, they were icons. Farrah's feathered hair became a nationwide trend, and their sleek outfits and fast-paced action scenes kept viewers glued to the screen. Charlie's Angels was more than just a TV show, it was a statement. It gave young girls bold role models and showed the world that women could be both powerful and poised. It was girl power before the phrase even existed. Filmstrips. In 1970s classrooms, filmstrips were the height of educational technology. When the lights dimmed and the projector whirred to life, you knew you were in for something special. Still images flicked onto the screen one frame at a time, with a calm narrator explaining each scene. And then came the signature beep, the cue to move to the next slide. Whether it was a lesson on the solar system, ancient history, or basic hygiene, that rhythmic beep kept kids engaged and curious. It was a welcome break from textbooks and chalkboards, and for many, film strips made learning feel just a little more exciting and a lot more memorable. The Muppet Show. In the 1970s, The Muppet Show brought something truly magical to television. A perfect mix of comedy, music, and lovable chaos. With Kermit the Frog trying his best to run the show, everything from Miss Piggy's dramatic flair to Fozzie Bear's groan-worthy jokes, added to the delightful madness. And who could forget Statler and Waldorf, the grumpy old men in the balcony who never missed a chance to heckle? Each episode featured over-the-top musical numbers, like the unforgettable Mana Mana, and guest stars from the world of film, music, and beyond. It was goofy, heartfelt, and wildly creative. A show that united families in front of the TV and made everyone laugh together. Flip clocks. In the 1970s, flip clocks were more than just timekeepers. They were a piece of stylish, modern art. Ditching traditional clock hands, these clever devices used mechanical flaps that flipped over with a soft click each minute, revealing the changing time in bold, easy-to-read numbers. That rhythmic flipping sound became oddly soothing, marking time in a way that felt both futuristic and comforting. With their sleek, minimalist look, flip clocks fit right in with the clean lines and modern decor of the decade. Whether perched on a nightstand or ticking away in a hotel room, they added a cool, high-tech touch to everyday life. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. In the 1970s, Rock'em Sock'em Robots turned living rooms into tiny boxing arenas. With one red robot and one blue, kids would face off in rapid-fire battles, hammering the punch buttons and trying to land that perfect uppercut to make the other robot's head pop up. That satisfying pop wasn't just a sound, it was sweet, plastic victory. The simple setup, a small ring and 2 joystick controllers, offered hours of fast-paced fun and friendly competition. Whether it was game night with siblings or a neighborhood showdown, Rock'em Sock'em Robots delivered big action in a small, unforgettable package. Lava lamps. In the 1970s, lava lamps weren't just lights, they were a whole vibe. With their slow-moving blobs of colorful wax rising and falling in liquid, they brought a hypnotic, almost dreamlike quality to any room. Whether perched on a nightstand or glowing in a corner of the living room, they gave off a soft, groovy glow that fit perfectly with the decade's free-spirited style. The motion was calming, the colors were bold, and the whole look screamed cool. Lava lamps captured the mood of the 70s, laid back, a little trippy, and endlessly fascinating to watch. They were pure retro magic in motion. Macramé. In the 1970s, macramé was everywhere. And it was more than just a hobby, it was a style statement. Using nothing but knotted cords, people crafted everything from plant hangers to detailed wall art, bringing a cozy, handmade feel into every corner of the home. Earthy tones, thick textures, and creative patterns paired perfectly with shag rugs, wood-paneled walls, and all things boho. DIY kits made it easy to get started, and soon nearly every home had at least one macramé piece proudly displayed. The Brady Bunch. In the 1970s, The Brady Bunch was the heartwarming sitcom that defined family TV. Centered around a blended family of 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls, and their ever-patient parents, it tackled everyday ups and downs with a smile. Add in the wise-cracking housekeeper, Alice, and you had a recipe for timeless charm. The catchy opening theme with the 9 familiar faces and a tic-tac-toe grid became instantly recognizable. Who could forget classic lines like Marsha's dramatic, "Oh my nose"? More than just laughs, the Brady Bunch offered simple life lessons wrapped in warmth, making it a comforting staple of 70s television. The Partridge Family. In the 1970s, the Partridge Family hit all the right notes, literally. This musical sitcom followed a charming family band, led by Shirley Jones and her 5 kids as they toured the country in their groovy rainbow-painted bus. With singable hits like "I Think I Love You," the show wasn't just fun to watch, it was fun to hum along to. David Cassidy as the dreamy lead singer Keith became an instant teen idol, sending hearts fluttering everywhere. The show's mix of music, quirky family moments, and colorful 70s style turned it into a cultural touchstone, leaving a lasting tune in the hearts of a generation. What a trip! From feathered hair to flip clocks, these 70s treasures brought back the sights, sounds, and vibes of a truly unforgettable decade. Did we spark any memories? Let us know your favorites in the comments. If you love this blast from the past, be sure to check out more videos in our series. Don't forget to subscribe and stay groovy, friends.